Welcome into Overtime, presented by McDonald's. Dewey, Dailey, along with John Bruce for today's show, episode 40 of the show. Going to be the last one for
a couple weeks,
maybe a week or two. The last one for basketball is, we're getting to that. Like, girls are already in the Final Four. Boys, by the time the next episode would come out, I think would be the Final Four by then, as most of the regional games are in the middle of this week, and I'm guessing the regional finals would either be this weekend or early next week. So there's not going to be a ton of content when next week comes around. So we're going to look to the regional tournament for some of the boys' games and obviously preview the two Final Four appearances we have on the girls' side. But in terms of overtime for the winter sports season, this is probably going to be it.
Yeah, it's been a pretty decent run. We appreciate you guys sticking with us throughout this season. It's just we want to make sure we get as much information and content out as possible, but we need a slight refresher or update a little bit before we go into spring season, get ourselves ready to go for that. And if there's any championships or whatnot, obviously it'll be covered by SOSA with, sosaohio.com. We'll have everything you need there. We're not able to stream anymore this season just due to kind of an OHSA rule. Someone has given them money to be able to do it. So
money that we don't have.
Yeah. They went over top. I think technically we could have said, we just want exclusivity rights for the entire state. But somebody bigger than us went out and took care of that. But we'll still be, I know Wednesday we'll be down at the Convo giving updates and whatnot from
Tuesday
there.
As well.
Tuesday, yes. And then Thursday and Friday at the girls' state, you'll see updates there from SOSA as well. And then Friday night, because we will have a Division IV regional championship game at the Convo, we'll have someone there. I think it's going to be me, probably. You can come if you want. I'm sure Derek won't want to do that after going in the morning to the Fairland game. But, it'll be a busy week. Hopefully we get something on Saturday, too, because that means that either a girls' team is in the state championship game or we've got somebody playing in the Division III regional championship game. Ideally, that would be both Northwest and North Adams, because that game would be fire, especially with how well both teams have been playing here at the end of the year.
Yep, so we'll jump into things. Obviously, we'll start with the boys as normal. We'll review the district tournament games last Friday and Saturday. And then we'll jump into the girls as well. Timestamps always down below. Just a preview of what we're going to talk about in the episode. You can jump right to it, skip around, and it just makes it easier to listen to and watch what you like, and just skip over all the stuff that you may not care about. If you don't like the boy stuff, you just want to watch the girls, you can just skip to that part, and vice versa. So
if you want to skip over this, you've probably already done it. And we'll get more into detail about our games that we streamed this week, which we appreciate all of you for watching, because our numbers for those were really, really good. And I know our sponsors, we appreciate our sponsors being able to make it to where we could get down there, even though we had to pay a fee to get down there. I thought that everybody down at the Convo was really good for us. The Roar Room was great. It was fun running into some people that have watched Overtime. We appreciate you, because it makes it to where, besides McDonald's, making it to where we can do this, but we appreciate you guys viewing as well, because that makes it worthwhile for us to do as well, because
not quite the run for Overtime here. The last, the most viewed one up until I think maybe 4 episodes ago was the very first one, and then we had one crack 700, and then last week's is now the most viewed one. And even talking about most viewed stuff, the Wheelersburg Northwest stream is now the most viewed stream on the channel.
Especially ones that are still on there, because we had the misfortunate one a couple years ago, but so that one just keeps going up as well, and we appreciate you choosing us to watch, because you had lots of options, especially for that the Fairfield Fed Hawk game had a lot of options for that, and we appreciate you following along with us, and hopefully we talked about it a little bit on the Twitter or X, whatever, about all the different teams we covered. And, we're going to look to try to cover even more teams next year. It's probably going to be about the same amount of games, because
I don't know if we can top You talking about like next winter?
Yeah.
I don't know if we can do any more games than we already did.
Yeah, because like
we've reached
there is a finite amount of money.
Right.
Yeah.
And we did 2 more than last year.
Yeah. So
I think we've 33 is. I'd say 30 is probably the ideal.
Yeah.
The ideal thing. And you got to think about it. We did 30 without even we didn't go down to Eastern Brown for the Winter Hoops Classic. That we really didn't do any. The only double headers we had in the regular season was the thing down at Eastern Pike, and then the tournament games are double headers, but those don't.
Well, and then we didn't have the triple header over at Waverly like we normally would for the tournament. So, I mean, there's some things out there that maybe we could get more, but at the same time, we'll see when the time comes. But hopefully, we can get to some more different schools next year and whatnot. But and a lot of that tends to be, especially early in the season, like kind of seeing where everyone's at, and then we want to try to get to the
best games.
Yeah, the premium games there down the stretch, or maybe a random Thursday boys game that was our lowest viewed game, which was
our lowest viewed boys game.
Yeah, which is still pretty crazy to us. Our lowest viewed boys game was literally the only boys game in the area that night, and there was very few girls games. So we're like, oh man, people are going to watch. Nobody watched. Or a very low amount of people watched. We had some, but yeah, we appreciate all the viewers that we get. Obviously, we appreciate Kenneth Hay and Carson Francis, and Brock Netter stepped in once to film for us as well. So, and I appreciate my car making it. Yeah, a lot of mileage on it.
Did you ever?
I didn't do the mile because you already put the thing out, so I didn't feel like doing it.
I didn't know if you were gonna quote exit and be like, plus we drove 500 million miles.
It was a lot of miles
all over the Southeast District.
My car before this past year. So every car I've ever had has gone over 200,000 miles, and I usually have it for 5 years, which is, if that's an insane amount of miles, because where I was driving to Wright State every day and living in Chillicothe, that was crazy for 4 years. Completely just ran my car all over. And then the next car had some of that, but it was also just driving. I worked in Cincinnati for a while and lived in Chillicothe, and I worked at Wilmington. So I had a ton of miles. This car was doing pretty good. And then now I've driven to Indiana a bunch of times. I drove to Maryland with it. I drove to Texas with it. But then this winter, we drove to Seaman, 3 times? Twice. Eastern Brown.
You obviously went more places than just I went. So.
Yeah, and then I Eastern Brown a few times, which that's not real close. The Convo is not close.
You went down to the Convo a couple extra times for the D4 semis, and
I didn't go as many times as normal because it was getting up there. The gas is crazy still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank goodness for Sam's Club. Yeah.
All right, let's jump into the district tournament review. We'll start with Division 4. We're only going to talk about D4 and D3, obviously. There was a big D2 game, one of the more entertaining games.
Yeah, that D2 game. If you were there and didn't watch the D2 game, man, that was outstanding. And both those teams are going to have a lot back. Who knows what divisions they'll be next year, but there's a good chance that they'll be playing for district championships, whatever divisions they're at. Warren and New Lex, shout out to them for just a great game, and good luck to Warren. I wrote down who they play, and we'll do a really quick thing on it because they play Thursday. So if you want to see them play, and here's one thing: the thing about the tournament, when you hit milestones, like Julian Stadelman for Warren got his 1,000th point. They
don't stop.
Hit a mid-range jumper. They don't stop it. That play just keeps going. The crowd was cheering and everything. And sometimes, I've seen it to where, there's a foul, right after. And, so they get more of a celebration. But that one was, play kept going for, another minute or two in that. But, yeah, Warren was able to pull it out in overtime. A really, really good game. Had a fun finish, too, with the hammer. Two-handed.
Number 2.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
Trent Taylor. Two-handed jam to end the game. Made it an 8-point game. It was much closer, but yeah. Go ahead.
All right. We're going to start off with Division 4. South Webster takes down Trimble to pick up the district title win. Norm Pearson also grabbing his 800th career win as well, looking for 801, I guess, tonight when this airs. Tuesday night, where they are facing I don't even know.
I got it down right here. Oh, Fairfield.
Fairfield. I knew that. Yeah, they're playing each other. I forgot.
Yeah.
Like the only time.
I mean, this is by far the only episode of Overtime where it's all been on one page. So you could have just looked down. Like normally it's like sometimes it's like 5 pages of notes. This is like one page.
Oh, I was trying to think because like I knew but I knew Northwest was playing Malvern and North Adams was playing Harvest Prep. So I was trying to think of some like out of area team, but I was like, oh no, this is one of those cases where both Southeast actually play each other in the next round, and I know there's a chance for like North Adams and Northwest to play in the regional final, but you got to win in the regional semi first. But for South Webster and Fairfield, they get to play in the Sweet 16. But South Webster, pretty convincing win over Trimble.
Yeah, 51-34. It wasn't necessarily the prettiest. Trimble tried to muck some things up by slowing things down, making things really difficult to get Eli Roberts the ball, and they did a really good job of it for the most part, trying to as someone who's gone through the coaching strategy of, hey, we're going to try to make someone else beat you, and then they do it. Dylan Schubert was huge in the game, knocked down 3 threes. I believe he was 3 for 4 from deep. They went 6 of 15 from 3-point range. Roberts only made 1, but and shout out Christian White. Yeah. Christian White with 6 points on the night. Doesn't do a lot of scoring. He's more assists, get them set up in the offense. And I feel like he may have scored more, but he got in some foul trouble in that one as well. Tyler Summer knocked down a 3 as well. Summer had 11 points in the game. Roberts ended up with 16, including completely taking the game over. I think it was a 7-0 run he went on to end the third quarter when it was like kind of close-ish, and he just completely slammed it over. I want to say it was like a 7-point game, and he made it a 14-point game after 3, and that was it. Trimble, for Coach Howie Caldwell, 610 wins, showed why he had 610 wins. Right. They competed even though they were clearly outmanned, but ultimately South Webster with the 51-34 win. I think I said Roberts at 16 already. If I didn't, whatever. But Owen Malt with 5, Hunter Bernard and Brock Campbell each scored a couple of baskets. I think Campbell's might have been free throws, but Campbell and Schubert had one of the most entertaining plays in that. with
diving all over
the both were just diving all over the court, and I think it was Campbell just kind of slid out of bounds, but it was just such a great effort. To me, the play that really turned the game around was like Roberts struggled shooting, but either him or Summer got a block, and then Roberts hustled, saved it from going out of bounds, hustled down to the other end and got a 3-point play. And that was, to me, that was the game, because it was like, okay, you guys are battling, but this is our game now. It was kind of what it felt like to me, as the the Jeeps showed why they were the 1 seed coming into the game. And like you mentioned, Norm Pearson, 800th career win, like 45 years of doing it. Like that's such a high win percentage, especially because I'm sure when he started they were playing 18 games, then it went to 20, now it's 22. So that's winning such an absurdly high amount of games in his time at Wilmington, Oak Hill, Chesapeake, even at Valley. I think he went 12-10 in that year. And then now at South Webster, they've won 22 games this year, and they've got an excellent chance to possibly make it further than they made it since, I believe it was 2006 was the last time they went to the Final Four. I think that was the year they won it.
I was going to say, I think 2013 was the last district.
Yeah.
They had won. So the first district title in 8 years after coming up short. I know for sure last year. I can't speak on what their tournament run was the year prior to that, but
yeah, they've won sectionals every year back to 2017. They had a weirdly long break for them, which was 2 years of getting to the districts, but they had really struggled at the districts really since 2013. And in 2013, they lost in the regional final. 2004 and 2006, they made it to state. 2005, I think they technically might have a trophy for winning it. I know they didn't win it, but the team the region,
no.
I think it was Afrocentric won it, and then was playing an ineligible player. Like they won the state championship and had to, yeah. So
that's nice.
Yeah, in the state record book, it's like they were state runner up at 0-28 or something. It was like, yeah, that's not how that works. But yeah, so maybe they technically got one for that. I don't know, but I know they lost in the Final Four in 2004 and won it in 2006. So it's a school that's had some success, obviously, in the past, and I could see them continuing on that.
So we'll go ahead and talk about the other side of the regional semi coming up Tuesday night. Fairfield.
This is probably the best game we have.
Oh, absolutely. Fairfield and Fed-Hoc 56-52, back and forth all night. First time for me personally seeing Federal Hocking, and man, one of the more entertaining teams I've seen all year.
Yeah, they were a really entertaining team. They had two really good seniors, and a third one, Evan McPherson, had played really big. And like I kind of talked about that at halftime with Carson, was a little bit of like, hey, they've got Tarek Cottrell, Andrew Earhart. They got to have somebody else step up. And it was Evan McPherson. He had 7 points in the second half, including a big 3 to end the third. But Fairfield locked in defensively, a 7-0 run to end the game. Larkin Friend was like, he was so good. Like 22 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. I think he had more. I had him for more steals, but that was the official count of 3 steals. The 2 blocks he had were just perfectly vertical. Like, it wasn't like he was coming out of the way and like swatting it. He's just going up with guys and just out jumping them. And he had a big block with about a minute left, and they ended up getting possession. I think they may have made some free throws off of it, but they were down throughout the game. I think P. Floyd had it. They were down for almost 23 minutes of the game, 22 minutes and 20 seconds. They were losing. They led for 7:29.
That's gotta suck.
Yeah.
If you're like Fed Hoc and you hear that stat, it's like, man.
Yeah, they were led by Larkin Friend, but he was not the only friend in that one, as Griffin Friend was the only one that came off the bench for him. And at one point, they went on a 9-0 run. They were down 9, made a 9-0 run to come back and tie the game. And I see Griffin Friend going to check in, and I said to Carson, like, and we were in timeout at the time, I said to Carson, like, I don't like this sub because they just made this 9-0 run. First play, ball kicked out to Griffin Friend, a freshman. He buries a corner 3. And it was like, well, that's why Coach Williams is doing this. And that's why he's won well over 80% of his games so far in his career. Like, Logan McIntosh had a couple of like shaky possessions. He gets taken out. I know a lot of people don't like, because Coach Williams is very intense on the sideline, but after he kind of gets into him, he sits, like, he squatted down, talked to him on the bench. Next possession, they run a play for McIntosh. McIntosh knocks down a 3, and it's like, that's a good coach right there. And that's a really good player. It's a really mature player to be able to handle that as well. McIntosh ended with 16 points, Gabe Fouch with 6, Cade Miller with 5, Trey House with 2. It was a big 2, but he also did a really good job on Andrew Earhart, who, you say Andrew Earhart had 19 points. How did Trey House do a good job on him? If you saw the threes Earhart was making, like, they were nuts. And it was like, as soon as he touched it, was letting it go. He hit two really, like, quick trigger threes.
And, like, for him, it's interesting how he warms up prior to the game, because, like, the dude shoots so much slower in pregame. Like, I don't know if it's just like a thing where you're just trying to perfect the form or something, but, like, in pregame, just like kind of a normal shot. And then when he gets into the game, it's like, boom. Yeah. Like, it's just so much quicker.
Well, and like you said, you hadn't seen them play, and I kept hyping up how fast of a release this kid has, and then in warm-ups, it's just...
Yeah, it's just like he's just going through the motion. Like, and there's probably some, just getting comfortable. But I mean, whatever he did for at least the first half, anyway, he was going crazy.
Yeah, and so they were 9 of 19 from 3, and really, if you take that away, it was a lot. It was a big advantage for Leesburg. But yeah, so Griffin Friend ended up with 5 points in the game off the bench. He was the only player that played off the bench for the Lions. I think Larkin Friend and maybe Cade Miller played the entire game. But either...
What was the Carson line again?
Like, if he makes these, he'll be a friend to everyone in Leesburg or something.
Oh.
Yeah. At least he tried. He made a good point about Evan McPherson being the kicker for the...
I saw that on his sheet pregame. I was like, The heck?
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen that before. He told me he'd said something to Derek about it before, but yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It was a really fun, really entertaining game. And like we said, we had a lot of different options to see it. But if you want to go back and check out our broadcast of it, it's on our YouTube page for Friday night. So Fairfield moves on for the first time since 2014, which is kind of funny because, you know, South Webster was first time since 2013. You know who they beat in those district finals, each of them? Maybe not.
Do you know?
Yeah, I do know, but I don't want to say it because I think I just messed up. It was Paint Valley on at least one of them. Fairfield was definitely Paint Valley, but South Webster may not have been Paint Valley.
What year?
2013. Like, I don't think it was, now that I think about it.
You gotta come prepared. If we're gonna drop knowledge, we
I know 2014 for sure was. 2013 honestly might have been Fairfield because I know Fairfield made a run. Now I'm going to check it. This is great stuff.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I say it's completely on me at this point. Oh my goodness.
What?
One of the districts that year was Notre Dame beating East in the district final.
Side East?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that seems a little different now. And then South Webster beat Fairfield in the district final that year in a 2-versus-5 game because Fairfield beat Eastern. You know what could be? Yeah, I don't want to say because I can't even tell which Eastern that is. Honestly, it's Meigs High School, so I think that would have been Eastern Meigs.
Yeah, the green one.
Yeah, the green Eagles.
Not the brown Eagles.
Yeah. So South Webster beat Notre Dame 51-39 that year. And then they lost to Lancaster Fairfield Christian 59-55 in the regional final. Of course. So there's your 2013 update. Now I'll check 2014 just for funsies, just to see what happened the last time. I've got it pulled up everywhere. I've got so many things open.
No.
But I don't at the same time because I'm an idiot.
Come on, I want to talk about D3.
We're going to talk about D3 in just a moment, but Fairfield lost to Harvest Prep that year, and then Peebles lost to Afrocentric, and then Harvest Prep beat Afrocentric.
Had that one dude.
Yeah,
Bo something.
Bo Justice. That might have been the year. Justice. That might have been the year Bo Justice. Okay.
Shut down at home.
Yes. Yes, that year completely. But no, I'm going to pull it. It's the funniest thing on the state record book.
I bet it isn't.
I'm going to punch you in the face. Okay, so it's under just random stuff. Bo Justice was. Are you ready? Mm-hmm, this is actually 2015. 15 for 15 from the field, 7 for 7 from the free throw line, and 3 for 3 from 3-point line in a district semifinal game against Waterford.
So, was that 40 points?
Yeah. 30, 33. Yep, 40. Had a 40 burger, 40 piece. Gosh, I know we talked about this the other night. Had a 40 piece against Waterford in the district semis. That's not bad.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I could do that if I played varsity basketball.
And no one was guarding you. You couldn't. No. So, yeah. So it should be a fun one. We're going to talk about it here in a little bit.
And then moving on to D3 now, North Adams and Minford. That game originally scheduled for 6 o'clock on Saturday got moved up to 12 with North Adams girls in a regional final against Portsmouth over at Logan. I think that was a 7 o'clock start.
7 o'clock
it was a little bit later in the afternoon. They wanted to make it more accessible for North Adams fans, so they moved the North Adams-Minford district final up. And for the second year in a row, North Adams wins the district. Second year in a row, they also beat Minford in that round. Big win for the Green Devils.
Yeah, and the second year in a row where they lost by double digits early in the season. But they do such a good job of spreading the floor, especially at the Convo. And it's, 2 turnovers for how fast of a pace that game was. It was really impressive the night before when South Webster only had 3 against Trimble, but that game was played at a much slower pace. Yeah. And North Adams didn't have a turnover until late in the contest, and ultimately that was the difference. They had 11 points off of turnovers for Minford, and Minford did not score off of the 2 turnovers for North Adams. So that's the difference. Also, it's hard to guard when the other team shoots 64% and doesn't turn it over. So they were red hot from the field. And just, North Adams, they've really turned it on since that game. It's December 12th that we had over at North Adams, a 53-35 win for Minford. And, in the first half of this game, it felt like Minford was completely controlling the boards as they were out-rebounding the Green Devils by 14. And at that point, in the end of the game, they out-rebounded them by 10 total. So North Adams hit the boards hard in the second half, out-rebounding Minford in the second half, and that's ultimately why they were able to get the win. Branson Copus led them with 20 points, 6 assists. Jace Rothwell had 19 points and 3 steals, I believe it was. It was just like Rothwell's so good whenever we're there. Breeson Schweikert, who had no points in the first game against Minford, had 18 points and 9 rebounds. Just all these different things they just add up to why they won. They were 8 for 18 from 3. And then Carson Osborne had 13 points. It's just, you didn't get any points out of Connor Young and Cody Hessler, but they combined for 6 assists and no turnovers. So, I mean, you only go 1 deep on your bench, but you're getting quality minutes out of both of those spots that didn't score. And it's just, just an outstanding game plan and just execution by North Adams as a whole. I mean, Minford scored the ball. I mean, Miles Montgomery, 21 points. Bennett Kaiser with 21 points. I believe he had 10 rebounds. Jackson Shoemaker had 9 points and 8 rebounds. Troy Rhodes had 8 points. Jeffrey Pika had 2. But, ultimately it's just that, just the depth of scoring, that the third scorer having 18, the fourth scorer having 13. I mean, that's just that depth of scoring, even though it was only 4 guys scoring, but having all 5 guys at all times for North Adams be able to spread the floor, be a threat to score, but also be able to handle the ball just makes them just a really tough matchup. And they were able to exploit the fact that, even though they had a size disadvantage, they also took advantage of the fact that that size had to come out and guard them. And by doing that, it made it to where they were able to put up 70 and pretty comfortably win.
No, and the thing with North Adams and Northwest is it's teams like that you like to see succeed, because I mean, just from obviously we got to see them both multiple times throughout the season, but we've been able to see them both twice at the Convo. And out of the 8 Division III teams we saw at the Convo, they're the most, the support for them just outweighs everybody else. I mean, those are the 2 most proudest teams, 2 most proudest fan bases, and those are the teams you want to see move on because they bring the crowd. Even Lou Horvath was saying thank you at the end of the night for bringing the energy, making the Convo, what it is. I mean, that's how the Convo is supposed to be. It's supposed to be where everybody from your town shows up, not, a very, very small amount like we saw some schools, put out there. And there's different reasons for that happening. I don't think streaming helps a ton.
Right. But
at the same time, a game where we had our highest view number, or highest view, or I don't know how to word it, the most views ever on one live stream.
Well, and then
Northwest just nearly blew the roof off the Convo the whole night.
Yeah, and they were still getting support from back home, too, through that. And the North Adams Minford game, I think, is 4th or 5th right now.
Yeah, it's up there.
I mean, it was viewed really well too. But I mean, they had some great support because I think a lot of them were probably sticking around because they're going to go up to that girls' game that night. As I saw some pictures. I mean, obviously, if you want to see our pictures, check out our Smug Mug page. And saw the pictures, and they had great support at the girls' game too. So I mean, it was. Even though the girls lost for North Adams, it was a really good day for their community. As I think that was only the second time that girls had ever played to go to a Final Four, and this was a much more competitive game than the last time. And it's just it's really nice to see for it is a small community, and to see them be able to have that success, it does mean a lot to them.
Right. I mean, it's the second year in a row both the boys and girls have won a district title. As they obviously both won last year as well. So, I mean, it's a good time to be a Green Devil right now, and the boys team still rolling. So.
Yeah, and also shout out for having the mascot.
Yeah. I did not expect that.
Yeah, I didn't know they had the mascot, and then so it is. If you ever want to know if a team has a mascot, just watch either like the beginning of our streams or like at a timeout because one of us or Kenneth is going to find that mascout and we're going to put it out there.
Fairfield didn't bring theirs to the convo. I was a little disappointed, but maybe I won't be there Tuesday, but maybe they'll bring it Tuesday.
Yeah.
The Jeep and the lion. That'd be quite the face off. All right, let's move on to the final district.
You're not lying.
That wasn't funny. All right, we'll move on to the last district final in Division 3 Northwest. Wheelersburg 59-42 final. Northwest rolls to their first ever district title in program history.
Yeah, and as you said, that crowd was amazing. I like we were talking with your dad before we got started here in Studio 33, and he had mentioned, it felt like it was like 3-1 advantage for Northwest in the crowd. And really, once they started to get going, like Tanner Boland's like trying to get the crowd even more into it, and they're responding. We saw about 75 to 80 fake mustaches, supporting Connor Lentz. And like, it's just, you can tell what it means to that community to be able to do this for the first time ever. I mean, you had Roy Rogers. Apparently you had some other people that
were mentioned
that we were trying to figure out who they were. We know Roy Rogers. I know Roy Rogers. You know more of him now at this point, but yeah, it's athletically Northwest hasn't had the greatest background, and you can tell how much that means to that community for them to come down to the convo and then just absolutely annihilate a couple of the blue bloods in the Southeast District in Portsmouth and Wheelersburg. And they led this game from the first possession all the way to the end. Connor Lentz hit a 3 on the first possession, and from there they were off to the races. Lentz led all scorers with 28 points. Tanner Boland with 20. Both of them had double doubles. They were both. I think Lentz was 12 rebounds and Boland was 11. I had him for 13. We'll go 12. We'll just go to the middle on that. But Lentz was 12 of 22 from the floor, but he made his last 8 shots of the game. Like, dude was unreal late in the game. And, as it felt like they were going to win it, they did a really good job. Kind of what North Adams did of just using the floor, the spacing so well to where, they're hitting dudes just cutters for layups late in that game. And it was really fun to watch. Now, there was a foul discrepancy in the game.
Big one.
It was big, but free throws, it wasn't that crazy because Northwest was 16 of 22. Wheelersburg was 12 of 14, and they were fouling a little bit late, not a ton, but both teams were playing with that. So Northwest was dealing with it a little bit better, and you could tell the seniors versus the underclassmen in that game because the seniors, they never got rattled.
Right.
And it felt like at times Wheelersburg did, which, they're playing a ton of sophomores, so they're going to just get better and better as they get older. Now, they will lose Devin Lattimore, who had 26 points in the game. He had 10 rebounds as well, 3 steals. He had a good game all around. But
I think Swords graduates as well.
Swords does graduate as well. And then obviously, Connor Eastep, who missed the season, will graduate as well. But they have a lot coming back. Braylon Rucker, Logan Atkins, Zaner Mowry, Lena McGraw, Hunter Bivens, Kenyon Evans. Yeah. They've got some talent coming back. And, I think there's a reason why, Coach Prater was the district coach of the year because, he's done a great job with them to win the SOC 3. And I would think they'd have to be up there. They got to find some scoring because Lattimore did a lot of scoring for them. And there's a reason why he was first team all district in the AP. He'll make one of the teams for All Ohio. I'm sure he brought a lot to them this year. And that's why, they were able to make it to a district championship game. But this has been, a time coming for this Northwest team. You start 4 seniors. obviously we talked about Linson Bolin a lot on this show, but man, Jay Jenkins, I thought did a really good job on Lattimore, even though he had 26 points, because he made things really hard for him. And, Jenkins ended with 5. Caleb Lewis only had 1 point, but I thought did a great job in his role. He didn't take a shot from the field. So he knew his job was to get others involved, rebound on the defensive end, and, get the ball out and go in transition. And Logan Wolfenbarker had 5 points. Just like that dude, he got 2 fouls early. He came out a little bit, and then he played a good bit. He was still just as aggressive on the defensive end, even though he got the 2 fouls. And I thought they dealt with that a little bit better. Now, ultimately, when you have 4 starters and 3 or 2 starters, and then one of your bench players with 4 fouls, like early in the fourth, it does make things a little harder to deal with, but at the same time, it's just something as they get older, Wheelersburg will get used to it. But overall, it was, as I said, with like a minute left in the game, it was just kind of a dissection throughout. I mean, it was just super impressive by Northwest. Like we said, their crowd was amazing. Their seniors were amazing. It was a fun night. No, it was a great game to end the districts at the Convo. In our streaming season, it was a fun game to end it on.
Right. So, we'll be there Wednesday. Obviously not to stream, but just, kind of as fans, I guess would be the best way to put it. And, with us not being there and maybe people not being willing to spend, I don't know how much it costs to, pay for, the stream that's provided by the OHSAA, there might be even more people there than what we saw throughout the district tournament at the Convo. So I'm excited to get back there. Hopefully both, but hopefully at least one, North Adams or Northwest, can move on to the Elite Eight. But thus far, like you've kind of pointed out throughout our review of the district tournament, just great seasons up to this point for both teams. Historic seasons. For North Adams, back-to-back district titles, and then for Northwest, their first one, only their second district title game of all time. Yeah. The last one was 24 years ago. So not the most accomplished basketball program in the whole scheme of things, but this year, they just added the first one to the trophy case.
Well, and then who knows what this does for the program as a whole down the line too, because you might have had, there might have been 25, 30 kids there watching the game that when they went back home on Sunday, they were doing their Connor Lentz impression, Tanner Bolin impression, Jay Jenkins impression. That's how you build a program is, obviously through good coaching, talent. You have to have coaching from 3rd grade on. That's quality, but you also have to, those kids have to see something that makes them want to go do it. And do it for their community.
Well, especially now, in the day and age of the transfer portal and, NIL, not really so much in high school, more so the whole deal with transferring. And there may not be any, but it makes you wonder, how many kids that have recently been, high school basketball stars went to Northwest in 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade, and they're seeing that, these teams aren't even having winning record. And it's like, man, I want to play here. Right. But now, you have a team like this, you have a coach that just won Coach of the Year in the SOC2. You might have some older elementary kids or younger junior high guys that are like, okay, this program's on the up, and they might make the move to Northwest. Now, like I said, I don't know if there ever have been any dudes that have transferred out in middle school then been all district players in high school. But I'm just saying, it's very it's less likely for people want to hang around when you're losing all the time.
Well, and especially inside a county, because there's so many schools inside a county, so you have a lot of different options that you could.
Because as talented as Valley, now I think all the guys that most recently, last year's class, all those dudes from Valley, I think were there. I can't really know. I don't know. Right. But it seems like those guys were there for a while, so I can't speak. But those schools are 10 minutes apart or 15 or whatever. So if you're going to Northwest and you want to play basketball, you're like, man, they don't even win 10 games. Why not go to Valley? Because Valley's been really good the last at least 4 or 5 years. And obviously Northwest has been really good the last 2 or 3, but I'm saying now that you're kind of building a winning culture, I don't know, you might pull some guys from Valley, or you might pull some guys from, I don't know, Portsmouth or any of those other surrounding schools.
But you can look at man, look at all that support they had.
No, that's how I think you can tell that especially the 4 seniors, like I'm assuming they've been at Northwest the entire time because they're so like bonded together and they care so much about like McDermott as a community. And like I said before, when we were talking about them and North Adams, like these are the teams you like to see succeed.
Yeah. And I think it was somebody, may have been on Friday, said like either Fairfield's like bugaboo growing up was Northwest, or like Northwest was Fairfield. It was one of those two, like the only schools that were beating them like were these teams that were all there. And and that's kind of what you see with, you have to have these classes that, if they're good when they're younger, they got to stay with it. They got to stick together, and Northwest has, and that's what's rewarded them with a district championship. One thing I'll throw out there is we could see North Adams Minford Part 3 next year also, because there's a lot of underclassmen in that game. It was mostly juniors playing in that game. And
you're going to lose
Copas.
For Minford, it's just Pika and Rhodes, and then for a little bit larger on the losing side of things for North Adams, you're going to lose your leading scorer in Branson Copas, but you're bringing back more or less everybody else.
Yeah.
Besides Hessler, I think.
Yeah, Hessler was the other senior, but he was kind of in that, that area where they're like rotating in that spot. But yeah, we've
seen Rothwell take over. Schweikert's one of the more exciting players to watch. And we saw Osborne put up 13 points.
Yeah.
So, and I mentioned it, I think it's been a few episodes, but how you start to see these little mini rivalries develop. And I really hope they play again in the regular season next year. Now, I'm guessing they won't, because I'm guessing they just wanted to do like a little like a home and away deal. But I hope they do, because I think this is kind of turned into one of the more
must-see,
like lower scale rivalries in the area, because it's been the exact same story 2 years in a row between these two teams.
And you have to play good schedules.
Yeah,
like both of those teams especially went out. Like, one of the things I was kind of critical on with Northwest was scheduling early. And I feel like that was maybe part of the slow start, but it doesn't matter at this point. They're 23-3. Like, they've taken care of business overall. They've taken care of who's been really good on their schedule. And, obviously, lose to South Webster. South Webster makes it to the regionals and maybe beyond. Lose to Waverly. That one was kind of, kind of a head shaker, but
especially in terms, did we even tally up the brackets?
No.
Should we have done that?
Maybe.
But I was going to say, filling out the brackets, it didn't help that I probably saw Northwest at...
you still had them further than I did.
Yeah, but I'm saying I saw them probably 2 of their worst games. Because you lose to Waverly. Now, if them right now, this team would not lose to Waverly. No. I think if they played Waverly 10 times, we saw that one.
Yeah.
And with Eastern Pike, I think Eastern Pike's a little better than people get. I think Eastern Pike and Waverly.
I think if they didn't play Sims Valley for a third time, they probably were one of the teams down at the combo, because I thought they were playing really well at the end of the year.
So I don't. The Waverly game now I definitely look at as an upset. With Eastern Pike, it being at Northwest, I might consider it as an upset. But if we saw Northwest against anybody else other than those 2 games, I think I might have had them beating Portsmouth, or even moving on to the district final and beating Wheelersburg. So I'm putting that on them for for not winning the 2 times I was there.
Well, and we're getting ready to call the game, and some Northwest people went by and were like, I hope you guys bring us better luck this time. And I was like, at least we saw him play well against Portsmouth. We hadn't seen him play well before that. And so congratulations to all 4 of the teams, South Webster, Fairfield, North Adams, and Northwest for winning district championships. But you're not done.
Right.
Got to keep going. Keep playing. We'll start.
All right, where we left off, Northwest.
Yeah.
Opening things up Wednesday, we'll go Division III, then Division IV. It's a little bit out of order chronologically as South Webster and Fairfield play. Do you just want to start with them since they play on Tuesday?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, we'll start with D4. We'll mention some of the other games, but the one other game in D4, but we don't really care about that. Although the winner will.
Yeah, that one will be Berlin Highland, who's 20-6, taking on Northside Christian coming from Westerville, who's 20-5. Northside Christian and Berlin Highland played in the regional championship last year. This is not the same Northside Christian team as the Vandervarker kid, one of 3 that would have been on the team. He ended up taking his talents to, which is kind of weird because, family stuff. But I don't know if his dad quit before the season or before his son decided to transfer, but he went to Delaware Hayes, which they are in the regionals in Division I. So
that's such a mouthful. Westerville Northside Christian.
Yeah, and then Vandervarker too. Yeah.
Sounds like some Lord of the Rings.
Right.
I don't even watch that. I've never watched those, but that just sounds like
right.
some medieval.
And that dude couldn't play. He's probably gonna go Power 5. So I mean, if they had him, I would think they'd probably be the favorite. Now, Berlin Highland has lost a couple of starters. They still have the Detweiler kid who's outstanding. And they're really well coached. I think Berlin Highland probably wins that game. That'll be the first game on tonight, so on Tuesday. So if
that's who the winner's going to have.
Yeah, that's who the winner's going to have. And just throwing this out there, Northside Christian brought about 35 people last year. Berlin Highland's coming from 3.5 hours away. So if you want to get a good seat, get there and watch that game. It could be decent.
Get there about 5 minutes before tip. You should be good.
Yeah,
I think a lot of room in the combo.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of room, and if you're going to get there for South Webster and Fairfield, you should be able to get a pretty good seat for that as well. So, that first one, I think it's probably going to be the Hawks winning that game. Although I couldn't tell you what Northside Christian's mascot is. It could be a hawk for all we know.
I bet it's something very generic, I'll go with the Tigers. I'll go with the Tigers. Tigers is last name of Smith. That's kind of
I'm going to go Lions.
Tigers. And
they are Lions!
No way. You knew that. You cheated.
I typed it in.
Cheater.
I thought it might have been Tigers, but you took Tigers, so I went with Lions. Come on, your school's not that old. Think of something fun. Who's the one in Circleville?
New Hope?
Yeah, New Hope's the Statesman.
Yeah.
You could add more fun, but it's still kind of fun. It's
Lions is fun?
No, Statesman.
Oh, Statesman's fun.
Yeah, so that'll be the first game. Then we got the big one.
Yep, South Webster Fairfield. I think it's 8 or 8:15.
8.
It's slated for 8.
Yeah.
And the first one's 6:15. Yeah, I guess they are
6 and 8 because you get longer to warm up.
I was going to say because there's no net cutting, so I didn't think there would be a 2-hour gap. But 6 and 8 Tuesday, and I'm guessing Wednesday as well.
Yeah.
Division 4 regional semi. Both teams we have on live stream, as we've mentioned, winning districts last. What was that? Friday
for both.
Friday. Both exact same record for both, 22-3. I've seen both now, and I don't know. I feel like South Webster probably talent-wise always has the best player on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we're going to talk about which team wants it more, which team is grittier, might be Fairfield.
Mm-hmm.
But it honestly, I've seen kind of two sides to South Webster, and it more or less depends which side shows up.
Right. And I feel like this is a game between two completely contrasting everythings. Because you've got, like you said, the grittier side is Fairfield. They're going to play little tougher defense. Neither side gets off to great starts. That's maybe the one thing they have most in common. But
expect a 15-15 first half score,
right?
And a final of 55-50 or something ridiculous.
So you've got 800 wins, 46 wins.
Well, I was going to say, he's probably under 60 or something.
Yeah, so he 46 wins in
2 years.
In 50 games. Yeah, so, I mean, you've got extremely good win percentages for their careers, but you have completely opposite, experience. But at the same time, Coach Pearson has won regional title for all the district titles he has. Hasn't had a ton of success at the regional level.
If you took, what's his win percentage? It's got to be over 80, right? If you gave him Pearson,
it's 92%.
I was going to say, if you put him on track to coach for as many years as Pearson, he's got to be on pace for 1,000 wins by that point, because the win percentage is crazy right now. But I mean, when you have a class like they have right now, and that is the other thing I will say about Fairfield when it comes to scoring, it seems like they can kind of go a little bit deeper down their lineup. They can get 3 or 4 guys involved. I think for I about said South Point. For South Webster,
dude, I think I did it. I think I did it during the broadcast.
Yeah.
Like,
I think for South Webster, you have your main two, and then the three is just kind of like on a ballot where it's like the write-in.
like it was Jack Timothy early.
Yeah.
And then,
he was averaging like, what was it, 11 or 13 like for the first half of the season. But now, I mean, it just seems like it could be, Schubert, Malt, maybe Timothy. Like, it just doesn't seem like they have that set third guy, whereas for Fairfield here recently, obviously you have Friend. McIntosh has been playing big the last, pretty much the entire tournament.
Yeah.
And then that third guy, what's Trey's last name?
House.
It seems like it could be House,
Fouch.
Fouch, the Martin kid.
Miller,
yeah. Sorry. I think...
And then Griffin Friend's the other one that plays.
Yeah.
But and then there's the other thing. South Webster is deeper because South Webster will play 7-8 guys. Yeah, because you mentioned Malt, Schubert, Timothy, Christian White. He scored a little bit the other day. Hunter Bernard. We're both really high on Hunter Bernard. They
Seems
don't.
Like he's kind of the guy that could counteract the gritty of
Yes,
Fairfield.
yeah, and I think the guards are going to be the big thing in this game for South Webster. We've talked about it. The guards are going to be what takes them to that next level. And like Schubert and White combining for 15 points the other day, and 20 with Malt in there as well. So, you get 20 points from those three guys. If you get that every game, you're going to the state tournament. And, if they can do that against this Fairfield team, Fairfield's going to have to rebound really hard. You have Larkin Friend who averages a double-double at 6'1". Like, dude rebounds like crazy. Like, he's so smart at like just finding where the ball's going, but they've got to make sure they know where Tyler Summer is at all times.
That's what I was gonna say is for Fairfield. I'll say this without trying to make it sound like I'm not picking Webster, but I think this is South Webster's game to lose.
I do too,
in a way, because like for Fairfield, and obviously I'm not a coach, I never will be, but if I was going into this game, like you have to control what you can control. And I know Larkin Friend has been good on the interior, and you could maybe think about putting McIntosh on him, but I'm not sure if Fairfield really has a consistent way to stop Eli Roberts, especially on the inside. Now, if you want to test him on the outside and let him shoot, maybe hope it's an off night, you can go ahead. But what was he like 4 of 6 in the Webster game, or in the Sims Valley game? So it's kind of like going in the deep end of the pool. You can try it if you want, but like it may not work out if he shoots a 66% clip. So it might be one of those things where you kind of let him go, and you put Larkin Friend on a guy like Tyler Summer and just try to completely shut him down, because he only had 11 against, which I think is probably one of his lower point totals, and they still won by double digits, but it's because of the contributions they got from 3, 4, and 5 on the lineup. So it may just have to be one of those things where you just control what you can control. You try to keep Summer, below his average. And then, whoever South Webster decides this is going to be our number 3 tonight, or whoever seems to kind of get hot early, you just try to shut them down. Because I don't know if anybody as good as Friend has been defensively, and I think McIntosh is probably their tallest guy. I don't know if either of those guys can consistently stop Eli Roberts.
Yeah, they're going to have to play really good help side defense. Going to try to force, I would think you're going to try to force Roberts outside a little bit, which Trimble did a really good job of, and he didn't shoot the ball really well until he got that and one, and then it was kind of over from there because he knocked down a 3, another mid-range jumper. But like, he's really hard to stop whenever he gets going, so you got to try to make it to where if you can keep him, like against Trimble, he had 16. If you can keep him to 16, I feel like Fairfield's much better equipped to win if Roberts has
to win a game that goes above 50 points.
Yeah. And I think for Fairfield, they're going to have, somebody, a third scorer, because they didn't really have that in the last game. McIntosh has been around 20, like averaging right around 20. Actually, it might be 20 exactly over the last 5 games. Yeah. He's been really good. Since their last loss.
Wow.
Friend's been really good all season. There's a reason why he's averaging like 15, 10, and 8. So he's been outstanding all season. But they got to have Trey House, Gabe Fouch, Cade Miller. One of those 3 guys has got to step up, get between 8 to 10 points, because South Webster has the guys that can slow down either Friend or McIntosh. But I think it's going to be a really fun game. I think it's going to be fun to see what how the Fairfield team and staff plans to attack in this game, because obviously Coach Pearson's going to have he's got a really good staff over there too, and they're going to have a really good game plan going. It's going to be interesting to see what Fairfield does to try to counteract that.
When this version of McIntosh is not what we saw against North Adams.
Right.
I feel like he just seemed like he was unengaged against North Adams. Now, obviously, here down the stretch in the tournament, that has not been the case at all. But one thing I think that Fairfield would like to get a little bit more familiar or similar to that North Adams game was, I think Trey House led him in scoring that game. I think just from what I've seen the last couple of games, I mean, what did he finish with? 3?
He only had 2.
To 2. So I think if you can get him kind of back into that 10 to 15 point range, I think that's a good way to beat South Webster. But I'm interested to see. We kind of talked about it as soon as the brackets came out. We're like, this is the matchup we want, and it's the matchup we have now. 2 area teams in the regional semi, guaranteed to have one move on to the Elite 8. Should be a fun way to open up the district tournament, and this is the first game on Tuesday, or not district tournament. Should be a fun way to open up the regional tournament play here this week at the Combo.
And really, based off kind of what we said in the first game, I think the winner has a great chance to win on Friday night, which would be a regional championship game. So it'd be nice on Tuesday and on Friday if we can get a lot of local support for these teams. As they'll be playing for a regional championship on Friday night. Hopefully that would be a Friday. And really, once again, you can probably get a lot of parking and some good food and everything beforehand, because it is spring break.
Yeah.
Up there at the Combo. Although they might have a spring break menu.
Yeah, what was that all about?
The pigskin
if you go to the pigskin, do not get the fish sandwich. Kenneth liked it. I did not.
Yeah,
I thought it was very...
Well, it's because it was
very juicy.
Yeah, spring break.
It was the spring break menu. Listen,
yeah, so who knows what kind of fish it was. I love the pigskin, but it wasn't as good as normal.
There aren't any games on Thursday. Never mind.
Yeah, there are.
Oh, D2.
Yeah, D2.
Well, if you plan on going to the D2 games, just go to B-dubs. But where did we go that was good? Just wait until it's like 9 and go to Applebee's.
Yeah, they actually have a real
happy hour.
Yeah, real happy hour still.
12 to 7 or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, you got plenty of choices. I mean, if you want B-dubs on Tuesday or Thursday.
Make sure you get the Shady or whatever.
Shade.
Make sure you get the Shade before 10:15 p.m.
Yeah, we close at 11, but we don't see you before after 10:15. We get there at 10:16 and like, nah, sorry guys. Like, come on. Like, just turn the lights off if you're not going to seat you.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. If we would have pulled up and they turned the lights off, whatever.
Like, if I owned a restaurant, if I want to leave at 11, we're closing at 10.
Yeah.
Now, but I guess that's not really like whatever the time of closing I list. Like, so if I said we close at 10, like 10 would be when we stop seating, but we would probably continue operations until 11 or like whenever we kind of start to weed people out. Now at Applebee's, we were the last people to leave it. Like,
yeah, we didn't realize it. Like, we kind of looked around like, oh, we're the last ones.
We got there, it was packed, and I stood up and I'm like, man, there is like all the tables are flipped and all the chairs are on top of the tables that aren't flipped. I'm like, man, we got to get out of here. Yeah. Like, we got to go home. And then
we got an hour drive.
Yeah, we didn't get home until like 1:30 and then got up the next morning to
go down at 9. Met at 9 and drove down.
Speaking of some of those D3 teams that we've talked about already a little bit this episode, Wednesday we'll open things up with Northwest and Malvern, the last remaining undefeated team in Ohio, no matter the division. Tall task for the Mohawks.
Yeah, but Malvern's schedule hasn't been
suspect.
Yeah, hasn't been like the toughest, but Maysville, who is the 1 seed in the Division 2 district that has made their way to the Convo for the regionals, they beat by 10. So I mean, this team's good. Like, Malvern's good. Like, but for Northwest, if they defend the 3-ball well, Malvern's coach also had a really good quote in the district final when he got asked at halftime, like, what's going on? He said, they're making threes and we're shooting them. Just the nice way of saying, like, hey, we're not making shots. So Malvern
also win the logo battle right off the.
Oh yeah, they got the jacked Hornet over there. It's been a long time since Malvern's been at the Convo, but like, they were one of the teams that you always heard, along with Highland. Maybe they went up north some of those years as well. So it's a program. It's a good program.
This one looks constipated. Jeez.
It's very old school, the Hornet is, and I like it a lot. So, if you get a chance, look up the Malvern Hornet mascot. So, for Northwest, they've got to avoid foul trouble. Biggest thing, because you're probably going to get some referees from outside the district that are going to come down and call the games, and they're going to call it how the game's called in their district. So if they don't let the physicality go that Northwest has been playing with the last couple games, they got to make an adjustment early, because they don't go real deep on the bench. They only played one against Wheelersburg until the last 35 seconds. So they're a very well-conditioned team, Northwest is. They don't go real deep, obviously, but I feel like if they play to the level that they've been playing in the tournament, especially the last 8 quarters of the tournament, because they kind of ran away from Adina in that sectional final game. If they can do that, I feel like they're going to have a puncher's chance here late in this contest. And I mean, I don't want to throw it out as a challenge to Malvern, but I feel like Northwest is going to have, the advantage of the home court.
Yeah, I was going to say.
In a way.
It's going to be like did you already mention how Malvern travels, or did you kind of talk about that already?
Well, I don't know how well they travel. It's going to be their first time here in a long time, so maybe they travel really well, but it's going to be the 6:00 game on Wednesday. So, that's going to be kind of hard getting there. I feel like Northwest is probably going to have the crowd advantage. The players have played there before.
I think that's the advantage, especially when you talk about how, especially at the high school level, shooting, you're used to the wall being just, a couple feet behind, a little more than maybe 6 or 10 feet behind their basket. It's not like that anymore. Now you have the roll-in basket. So I think that's definitely one advantage. I think you give, in terms of fans, I would be very surprised if Northwest is outgunned in that department.
Right.
And Northwest has also played there twice.
Malvern
hasn't at all. So
like you said, they played there twice. They can probably get the same locker room if they want to keep that kind of rolling, the same way. It's hard to shoot the first time at the Convo. Now, I say that as someone who coached against the last game they coached at the Convo. The team came out and made 7 threes in the first quarter on us, who had not played there in a couple years. So, you just kind of never know. But I feel like Northwest has that slight advantage. Now we'll see when they go toe to toe. Do they have the advantage? Talent wise, I don't know, but I know they're going to bring a lot of effort and intensity, and they're going to play defense, and that's going to be the big thing. Malvern definitely gets up and down a little bit more. They score 69 points a game, so. Northwest is closer to like the 63 mark. So we'll see how that works, especially on the bigger floor. And I do feel like Northwest and, North Adams, that we'll talk about here in a minute, they do have the spacing advantage, because Malvern just came from a high school court too, where they played the district finals. So the spacing is a lot different as well.
One last thing, win or lose, I think Northwest winning after the first quarter. I don't know if they'll win or lose the whole game, but I think after the first quarter, Northwest will probably have the advantage. Because, like you said, I think it'll take a little bit but it could also not, and they could come out and drop, 7 threes in the first 8 minutes. So we'll see. That is the 6 o'clock start time at the Convo on Wednesday. The 8 o'clock game that night, North Adams Harvest Prep.
Yeah, Harvest Prep. Earlier in the season, they beat Wheelersburg in a really tight game over at Shawnee State. And to me, that opened my eyes to what Wheelersburg could be on the season. But they don't shoot the ball really well. They will have a big size advantage in that game. Not like gigantic, but maybe like an inch or two across the board. They're going to have a size advantage. So North Adams is really going to have to hit the boards hard, because that's ultimately what Harvest Prep did when they ended up beating Wheelersburg. Was they ended up out rebounding them late in that game, because Wheelersburg similar size to North Adams. Both teams going to come in at 21-4. Both teams outstanding staffs. I mean, just being behind the Harvest Prep staff that game too, kind of opened my eyes to how good they are. because they were just how they coach the kids up. Kind of like whenever I was by Fairfield's bench for the Eastern Brown game, I was like, man, Coach Williams is really good. Like you kind of, those things open your eyes up a little bit to different things. And this Harvest Prep team, I don't know if they're as good as Harvest Prep teams have been, but they're going to be very good. North Adams, like we've said, spaces the floor better than any high school team I've ever seen at in our area. They use their spacing really well. They drive and kick. They have shooters everywhere. I think they're going to have a chance in this game, but you got to make sure you come out ready immediately. And if they make a quick run, you got to just handle it quickly. And that's the big thing, because once Harvest Prep gets rolling, the Warriors are really tough to deal with. But I think both teams have a chance. I don't know if either one will win, but I think they're going to put up a great effort across the board. And this is one thing I'll say about North Adams: they ain't scared. They're not going to back down from anybody. And
I want both to win.
I do too.
Bad. Not even just for the principle of just having both area teams continue. They're
super likable teams.
Yeah, and it could be. Obviously, if it was any area team, I would want them to win. But, specifically with these two, it's because I want to see them play each other.
Yeah.
Because they are so similar to where I think a lot of people kind of underrated them a little bit. I mean, myself included, is I didn't have either of them. I didn't have Northwest making it to the district title, and I had Minford beating North Adams in the title game. So I think
I didn't. I hadn't won it.
I think I didn't have North Adams winning on boys or girls, and they won in both.
Yes, which I had both on the best.
But you're a big North Adams guy.
I am.
But I think they're very undervalued. I think they both have that chip on the shoulder where it's like everybody outside of our, I was going to say township, but everybody outside of Seaman, everybody outside of McDermott doesn't believe in us. And the thing we saw with Northwest, it was like they got to play us.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that on the shirt. And I didn't even like it at first, but just seeing how their crowd is and how their players are, they believe it. And I feel like North Adams probably has something similar, because those dudes, they're not scared of anybody.
No. And man,
I love Schweikert and Rothwell. Those dudes are.
I would love to see that matchup, because I think in terms of grit, in terms of desire to play the game of basketball, I think the fan bases are very similar in how proud they are of their teams. I think in Division 3 right now, and even in Division 4, with Webster and Fairfield, I think our representation on the regional level is very good. I think these are the teams we want representing our district.
Yeah,
right
with how we play down here, and I think you said it right. That's this really good representation of kind of the Southeast District as a whole, and what how our team should all play is this really fun but high energy, gritty style, where you're going to have to earn your points, but at the same time, they're going to spread you out and they're going to attack your weaknesses and do it at a really high level. I'm excited for both these teams and their staffs, and obviously the kids and their communities to be able to do it, at the regional stage. And, whatever happens. Hopefully some good things happen for all four of the teams. Obviously,
D4.
Obviously D4, someone's going to go home in the district or the regional semi, but hopefully we can get some representation over at UD Arena. And then, the last thing, we'll kind of go to really quick with D2. Do you have anything else on D3?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Then on D2, Thursday and Saturday, first game will be Maysville against Bishop Hartley. Maysville, we saw last year, graduated a really good player, but still came out as the 1 seed in Division 2 over in the East. Hartley, actually, North Adams, if they would have made some free throws at Shawnee State, had Hartley beat. Ended up losing that game in overtime by 1. I think Hartley made a free throw with a second left in that one to beat them. The second game was Warren, that we talked about a little bit earlier. They played Tri-Valley. Tri-Valley's got a couple of really talented kids. They're 6'4" across the board. I feel like it's every one of their starters is 6'4". It's something hilarious like that. So that'll be a fun matchup for sure. Maysville and Tri-Valley went to overtime. it was when we did the Wheelersburg Minford game. They went to overtime, and that decided the 1 seed in the East. So, that would be really fun games. If you don't have anything to do on Thursday, go down and watch those games, and then go to get boneless wings at B-Dubs right up the road.
Hopefully they're a little bigger than what we got. We got like little bite-sized
mini guys. Yeah.
That wasn't my fondest trip.
Yes.
To B-Dubs, but nonetheless, let's move on to the girls' tournament. Going to be a lot shorter than what we usually have for the girls' side, but that's because we have 2 teams left.
Yes.
From the same conference. They split the regular seasons with each other. Now they're both in the Final Four in Division II and Division III, as the OVC being represented on the state stage now.
Yeah, we talked about the OVC really heavily this year.
And South Point nearly had
South Point made a really nice run. Yeah, it's just obviously a really good basketball conference. And I think the boys' league was maybe good because it was just they're all balanced.
Yeah.
As they went 0-4 at the Convo, but that meant they had 4 teams get to the Convo. So I mean, they're still really good basketball conference overall. They really play high level basketball, and kind of a shout out to our to West and North Adams on the girls' side, as they both fall in the regionals to Portsmouth. Emma Sayre was awesome in that game against Portsmouth. They still lose 65-35, but she had a really good game. They've got a ton coming back. I think Coach Howe, who just won his 100th career game at some point, because we don't really say when, we just kind of say at some point this season.
Earlier in the season.
Yeah, earlier in the season. Yeah, so Coach Howe's won 100 career games, and he's done an outstanding job at West. Obviously, you got a big hole to fill with Emma Sayre, Kate Rollins, Emily Moore. I think they had a couple more. But they, back-to-back district titles and back-to-back SOC championships for the West Senators on the girls' side, when they had never done either before the last 2 years, is something to really be proud of. And then for North Adams, they lose 42-25 against Portsmouth on Saturday night. I think it's still, it's the second time they ever made it to the Elite Eight. They really upset Fort Fry in the semis, 28-25. Fort Fry can really shoot the ball. They held them to 4 of 30 from 3 in that game. And, it's just late contests. Kate Berger was huge in the fourth quarter of that game. She scored all 6 of their points. They were down 9 late in the third, or about halfway through the third. Kinley Jones knocked down a deep 3, and then they started to just chip away on their way back. Now they're going to lose Jones and Harley Brand, but man, they still have a lot of talent coming back, and we've got to watch their JV team, and I feel like they're going to have a chance to at least make it to the district level next year. Maybe not to the regional, but they're going to still be really well coached by Coach Davis and his staff. So shout out to North Adams and West.
Yeah, and going more into this, Portsmouth and we already mentioned how Ottawa-Glandorf.
Ottawa-Glandorf has
the sweetest logo I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're the Titans, and they got a
they're right below the Jeeps.
Yeah, they've got a full-on Zeus Titan.
I think I showed it on if you watched all the way through last week. I think I turned it around, but even just talking with my dad, Sienna Allen is one of the most impressive girls high school basketball players that I personally have seen. I mean, he's been around a lot longer than I have, and the praise he's given her.
Yeah, right? And just as an all-around player, and just kind of can do a little bit of everything.
Sophomore,
yeah,
so.
In that West game, I didn't see the North Adams game, but in the West game, she had 11 out of their 15 points in the first quarter, and just really took over early. And then her teammates did some stuff that threw out, and she kind of let them kind of cook a little bit. But man, she can really score it at a high level. Inside and outside, really good free throw shooter, good passer, really good defender. She can handle the ball really well. Your dad mentioned that she could probably guard 1 through 5, and I feel like she can.
She's got the height too.
Yeah, she's got the height. She's got the length. A slender build, so she's going to have a chance to put on some muscle as well. And she's just really special. And then you got Daisha Reed, who can shoot it from anywhere. I thought Cantrell played really well in that West game. Still not shooting the ball a ton, but she blocked 5 or 6 shots in that game. And I mean, if you're 6'3" and can be a rim protector, that's huge. And I mentioned this to you. If this is this might be the best compliment I can give them. The Jared Solinger Ohio State teams, the 2 years that he played,
that was like 11 and 12,
yeah,
or 12 and 13,
something like that, yeah. And you couldn't inbound the ball underneath the basket against them. Like, you couldn't get into anything. You could try to run your stuff, you couldn't do it. When I watched Portsmouth against West, they couldn't get the ball in. Like, you couldn't run anything because... And
that's saying something.
Yeah.
With a team that's that, like... Even though they graduated a lot last year, they were still, like, technically sound. And, like,
yes.
Like, one of the most fundamentally sound teams you've seen all year.
Yeah, and they ran their stuff really well. But if you tried to run anything inside, you couldn't do it because you had... I can't think of
Haven Carter?
Yeah, Haven Carter, Cantrell, or Allen are on the bottom of a 2-3. Like, you can't get the ball in right there. And then you try to lob it over the top. Oh, good luck, because you got either Daisha Reed or Kiki Woods just flying to the ball.
Yeah. And that's 2 more just high-energy players.
Yeah.
Just push the ball up and down the floor. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, and then if KK Mays is in for somebody, that probably moves Allen up top, and even more good luck. Like,
I mean, this is what we were talking about last year, right? With this Portsmouth team, we're like, man, I mean, they had 6 players and they were this good. Imagine if they just added on a couple like average at best players. Well, they didn't add on average at best players. They added on players that anybody around here would love to have, and they added on starters, right? Especially like what you talked about with Kiki Woods. I mean, not very tall, not very big, but like the energy and the speed, it's hard to match.
Yeah, I think she's one of the most fun players to watch. This is a really fun team to watch. They're the 11th school in Southeast District history. There's like, I think it's like 72 schools in the Southeast District, maybe 73 when you add Ripley, believe it or not. But they're going to be the 11th school to compete in the Final Four in both girls and boys when they do so on Thursday night, when they take on Ottawa-Glandorf. Now, don't know a ton about Ottawa-Glandorf. They're 25-2. That area is really good at basketball, so they did similar to Portsmouth, maybe not as insanely dominating, but pretty dominating on their way to the state tournament. They had a really good season, and whatever happens for Portsmouth, I think this is going to be the first of at least 3 trips to the Final Four.
You would think.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like next year they may be a heavy favorite, and this year, like, it wouldn't shock me.
I think next year, with the group they have now, next year will probably be the best year they get. Now, I don't know what they'll add on next year in the freshman class or even the year after that, but I mean, you're going to lose Reed and Cantrell after next year. So I think next year that should be their best
I do think
shot.
I can't think of the Shannon girls first.
Bry, I think.
Yeah, she played a little bit more against West, and I liked what I saw. She's pretty athletic, so if she can kind of figure some things out, I think she can really step in and next year help out a lot as well. But yeah, you're gonna graduate 2 really good players next year, but that's still, they're only juniors. They have they have 1 senior, but she comes off the bench a little bit deeper, and this is a really, really good team, and I would love to see them win. They play Thursday at 8. You're going to be able to see it on the NFHS network. I think if you look up certain ways, you can get like half off for the month if you haven't gotten it before. So it can be
a little bit different than. Is it through NFHS? Because I knew
they do the state semis are definitely through NFHS.
Well, I thought it was just like the only time I've ever bought an OHSAA stream was the Waverly, and I don't remember who they played. Did they play St. Vincent St. Mary? They were on the other side.
They played Gilmore Academy.
I remember that. I thought that game was just like straight on the OHSAA website. I didn't know if it was through NFHS or.
I think NFHS. I think it's their broadcast, but I think you could watch it on the website.
But I can't speak for any, if you're still watching and you're thinking about buying some of the boys stuff. I can't speak for the boys ran stuff because I don't know what that'll be like. But when you get to the Final Four, that stuff is
and they have the
funds, they have the personnel to actually put on a good broadcast.
They have legit sideline reporters that you're going to see in a couple years doing higher level stuff. So they do a really good job at that because it's
the Final Four.
Yeah, and the OHSA isn't going to run anything themselves. It's going to look bad, so they're going to do a good job with those. And that's we're not going to talk about it really because they're in a different area, but they're still southeast. Waterford making like their 8th trip in the last 13 years or something to the Final Four, as they beat Berlin Highland in the regional final in overtime. They play Thursday morning over at Dayton. You know, just they're the most northeastern most school in our district. We don't really cover them, kind of like Warren, but they're southeast. We want them to win. So good luck to the Wildcats. They are very junior heavy.
And then we'll talk about Division II, Fairland, their second consecutive trip to the Final Four.
Hey, hold on. I turned the news on Saturday.
Is this a joke? Or?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to try to fire up Fairland. Okay. And
I know what
they're showing highlights of Sheridan because Sheridan's close to Columbus. It said Fairfield 58, Sheridan 31.
Verbally, or it said?
They said it verbally and on the screen. They did not call them Fairland.
Wow.
Make them know your names.
How disrespectful.
I mean, really, like, it's Fairland. It's not Fairfield. It's Fairland. They should know it by now because they've been putting it on teams all year, especially in the tournament. Their closest game was the district semifinal against Warren, which wasn't close. Like, it was, they just absolutely just dominated their way, bullied their way through the state tournament, or to the state tournament so far. They're going to play a really good Shaker Heights Laurel team. Don't let the record, sell you short on Laurel. They're 18-10.
Portsmouth played Laurel on the regular
Portsmouth
season.
played Laurel, but in that game, Tristan Williams, a 5'8" sophomore who averages 14.5 points a game, did not play. Portsmouth beat Laurel. So it's a different team than what Portsmouth saw on January 15th. They were still a very good team because they had Shania Hall, who the last I saw was the number 3 sophomore in the country, not in the state, in the country. She averages 26.4 points a game, 11.2 rebounds a game, 3.5 steals a game, a little over 3 assists a game. Like, she's a 5'11" sophomore that can do it all. But Fairland is loaded with kids that can do it all as well. So maybe they don't get maybe they're not hey, we're going to go to South Carolina, recruiting, but they're going to all be able to play at the college level, if they want to. They have they're going to have the depth advantage in this game, which is kind of crazy to say with a team that plays 6. But when they bring Issa Telefaro off the bench, that's going to get more than what Laurel's going to be able to bring off the bench. Laurel is really a two-headed monster. The Gators are very good. And, they've played the best schedule in the state in Division II, probably regardless of division. And so the 18-10 doesn't matter because they've loaded up their schedule to get to this point. So don't go into it, too heavy, like too confident. But if Fairland plays to their ability, which they didn't do last year when they played up there, when they played Canal Fulton Northwest, they did not play well. They didn't shoot the ball well, just did not play well. But, obviously you lose Tommy Hinkle, you lose the older Barnetts, and, but you return everybody else from that team. They're going to be hungry. It's an 11 a.m. game.
Like, I don't understand that. And they do it for football, too.
Yeah, 11. Okay, 11-1 and then 6-8. Why do you need 3 hours in between? Just make it 12-2. Like,
especially on a Friday. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I don't like it.
Did Wheelersburg girls make it to the state title game last year?
No, state semis, but they also played at 11.
Okay, well, I was just trying to figure out the last time we've had a basketball team.
I think Fairland played at 11. Technically, in
Vinton County.
Vinton County was our
last basketball. I know Wheelersburg softball made it. And I think Ironton football made it last year too. But I was saying our last basketball team that made it to the final was Vinton County, and they won. Or they lost?
They lost.
Yeah.
They beat Laurel in the semi.
Yeah. But then they got hammered by somebody.
Yeah. The guy's the coach at Dublin Kaufman now. He's 5'3". Okay, so Dublin Kaufman.
He's got a ring, though.
He does have a ring. He was Napoleon is where he was at, which is even funnier now that you think about him being 5'3". But so Dublin Kaufman was playing St. Vincent St. Mary, the game after Uniota played Huber Heights Wayne early in the season. So I stuck around for a little bit to see what, because Uniota's going to play Kaufman later, and hey, it's St. Vincent St. Mary's. And this dude was shorter than every one of his players. Like, he's looking up in the huddle to all of his players.
It's like, will you guys sit down, please?
Yeah, and then, so it's a 30-second timeout. He's looking up, and his players were dwarfed by what St. Vincent St. Mary's at. So it would have been even funnier. Heck of a coach, obviously. I mean, you win a state championship.
Right.
But it's just kind of funny. We're not, well, you're taller than me.
Like 5'11".
Yeah, we're short kings here. I think if you're under 6 foot, you're a short king.
Yeah, but
Petite prince.
I don't know. I'm thinking of like a medium maestro.
Okay. You're more medium maestro, but I'm kind of a petite
I feel like
prince.
short is like under 5'10".
Shut up.
Are you under 5'10"?
Yeah, I'm like 5'9"-ish.
Yeah, but if you're
depending on if my back gets worked on that day, I might be a little over 5'9".
If your back is like straight, I think you're.
Yeah, but my back is like.
I think if you're like 5'9" and under, that's considered short.
Yeah, but
also like 5'9" for like a girl is like pretty big.
Yeah, so going. I'm trying to think where I was. Oh, okay. So you mentioned Vinton County. So Vinton County lost to Napoleon. Now, 2 years ago, Sheridan lost in the state finals. Also, now they're not really our area. Once again, southeast, but yeah. So it's been a little bit because I think that might have been pre-COVID, or maybe that was 3 years ago. It was the COVID
COVID's
year.
been a little while.
It was the year after COVID. So we also had New Boston was the last boys team that made it, which was 2 years ago.
That was my senior year.
Was it your senior year?
So that was 2020. That was the 2020-2021 season.
Okay, so that was
yeah,
because I covered their regional final because Derek and Brock were at the state tournament covering Vinton County.
They beat. I don't know if it was the regional final, but I think they beat Webster in that tournament run.
Probably.
I don't remember.
They were so good, and they were very one person heavy, but they were really
the Sexton
good.
Kid, wasn't it?
Yeah, Sexton was crazy. But yeah, this Fairland team, they'll take on a really good Laurel team. If they win, they would take on obviously a really good. Well, actually, I don't even want to say obviously Purcell Marion. They probably Purcell Marion, who's the Alexander girl is crazy, but it's the Copley team has been just destroying teams all year, and they are a Division I team that has dropped. Because I mean, for Fairland, it'd be cool if they could play Copley in the finals because that would be two publics playing each other, which I don't think. Well, I mean, obviously it happened with Vinton County and Napoleon, so I should probably not act like it hasn't happened for a long time. But yeah, so Fairland, no matter what happens, great season. I think they've got a chance. It's going to be a winnable game for them. Have to play pretty well. I really admire what Coach Buchanan and his staff, and obviously their youth coaches are great because everybody that comes up is just ridiculous. Like, can shoot it, has a super high basketball IQ. Yeah, but like before we go, Bree Allen, Kylie Bruce have been awesome. Seniors, probably maybe
all-time leading.
All-time leading scorer.
Allen, all-time leading scorer.
Bruce is going to go play at Malone.
Well, I was going to say we spent a lot of the year talking about highly improved players in our area. I think Kylie Bruce might be leading that list on the girls' side.
Yeah, because
last year, obviously she's been an impact player for them for the last few years, but this has definitely been her best year by far.
I thought
first team all district.
I thought last year she kind of took a step back, and then this year, if she took a step back last year, she took a leap forward this year.
It was like one step back, two steps forward.
Yeah, because she's been so good this year, and I think that's going to be a big difference for them. Obviously, you got Godby, Cam Barnett's, Bailey Russell can really score it. Mention Telefaro. It's a really talented team. I would love to see them take the next step, get to the finals, and then if you get there, lay it all on the line. You never know what'll happen. So, to me, what they remind me of, and this is going to go back a few years, is if you're a Unio person still watching, and to me, this also brings up bad memories, is the John Glenn team from 2016.
The 7-3 team?
No. 2 years before it, when they won the state championship. They were a public school team. They played 6 kids. They won the state semi, and it was a game that, maybe they were they thought it was a 50-50 game, and then they played St. Vincent St. Mary in the final, and they ended up winning that. This team reminds me of that team a lot, of just the style of play, that they are relentless coming at you at all times. And and that was a really fun team to watch. And this Fairland team is a really fun team to watch. So I hope they can do the same thing that team did, which is win the state championship.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. We need a state. I mean, we got Wheelersburg in softball last year. We need somebody to get down on the hardwood.
Yeah, because, that's how the Southeast gets more recognition. Like we talk,
we got to get more rep.
Yeah, we got to do it with titles. Like we got to be able to put a little star on our thing of state champion from Fairland ish. I think it's
in the black.
Yeah.
All the way
So,
to the very
or Portsmouth. I mean, it'd be
which
cool.
Would be a little more up.
Yeah. I don't know if that's, this is very, our logo is very much like the Convo 3-point line on the squared straight. Offness. Yeah. But so good luck to our girls teams, Portsmouth and Fairland, and while we're at it, go Waterford as well. So how cool would it be to bring home 3 state titles?
Oh,
Hey, and we have streamed a Waterford game before, not girls.
That is true, or basketball.
Yeah, and it was football,
but it was what was that? A regional quarter?
Yeah, regional quarter. It was second round game, and
it was a week 12. Yeah,
week
I
12.
think that's regional quarter.
Yeah,
I think they lost the next week.
Yeah, but it was a close game. Yeah, so
yeah, I think that'll about do it for SOSA overtime here in the winter.
Yep.
I don't remember what episode it was when we started, but I'm guessing we ripped off at least. Let's see. Football's 12. We did 12 weeks, so that's 12 regular season. I think we did one.
We did 23 or 24.
We did one preview.
Oh yeah, we did.
And then I think we did maybe one after. So I think we did 28. So I think we did about 12 episodes. Okay. Well, that'd be 13 because 28, 29, and 30 through. I don't know.
Hold on. Let's just keep babbling. I can find it pretty quick. Okay. So podcast number 24 was November 20th. So I would say that was our first winner because that would have been girls.
24.
That would have been girls. So
what's the title?
Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
What does the title say?
I don't know.
Well, I'm saying
I just wrote podcast 24, and then the next game I covered was Paint Valley at McLean girls basketball on the 22nd.
Here's what I'm saying. You can go to the YouTube, and then when the first...
Oh, you're a silly goose. I didn't even think about the YouTube.
Well, I'm saying...
That we're on right now.
Yeah. But what I was saying is you can look at the titles of the podcasts. I should probably just do it on my phone.
Oh, why? Because your computer's not working?
No, just because it's quicker to do it on my phone.
Computer's not working.
Because I can go right to the YouTube. What did you say you thought it was?
24.
Let's see. 25 was boys basketball preview, so that means 24 was girls basketball preview, and 23 was district and regional overviews, high school. I said 24. So we did
a lot.
Was that 15 episodes or 16, something like that?
Yeah. So we thank you. I mean, our viewership grew a little bit throughout, and which means we're going to take a couple weeks. We're going to try to let it. It's really hard to do a preview for the spring because you don't know who is all playing, who all's.
It's not as.
Oh yeah. Probably no one's watching at this point. Is it McKenna Craft? Jackson Wrestling, 3 state championship. There's been girls wrestling for 3 years at the state tournament. McKenna Craft has won all 3 years, and she's only a junior. So shout out to her on the state championship.
Yeah, I don't even know if we'll do spring previews or if we'll just kind of jump into things. I'm not sure how overtime's going to look in the spring.
Yeah, we're going to try to figure it out. We will probably talk a little track. I mean, especially later in the year, maybe some things that happen because it's hard because there's not a lot of place. Okay, everything used to be on Bomb's page. Now there's very little on Bomb's page. Now it's on like 15 different places that you can find things. And then like I know we'll get something from a couple coaches like, oh, you can find it here. And I'll just completely forget about it. Because I've gone to Bomb's page for like 15 years. So I would like everything to just be on Bomb's page.
That'd make it easier.
Yeah. Like how baseball and softball, most people do it through Game Changer.
Yeah, but like with Game Changer, a lot of the times you have to, even if you buy the subscription, you have to request to be a part of it, and it's just kind of hard, which is kind of why
hopefully
it's not as widely covered as me. Like you can look at the all district teams and stuff from last year, but in terms of stats, it's kind of hard to get a hold of. So
my hope is my 18 years of coaching baseball, now that I've been out of it for a full year, people will realize, hey, he's not coaching anywhere. We can let him into our Game Changer. Because that was understandable last year of people not really being as aggressive into letting me into see their stuff. But I'm going to pay for it. Hopefully I can get some stuff. And then we can talk about it here on Overtime presented by McDonald's. But yeah, just stick with us. You know, we'll follow our socials. Uncle Queese on X, J Bruce SVC on X,
SOSA Overtime on
SOSA
X.
Overtime on X. We'll let you know a week ahead of time before we're going to go out. Like maybe we'll post a little picture of like back in the studio or something. And, you know, when we're getting ready to release our next episode, we really appreciate the amount of people that have, you know, been with us throughout the season, and obviously more people throughout the tournament. But yeah, it's just been fun.
Yep. So with that, like John said, just look out for, I'd say probably a week before this first spring episode, we'll kind of like be like, hey, it's coming back, which like our break's probably only going to be like maybe next week. But maybe for sure next week. And
well, because
maybe the week after.
Next Saturday,
FNB
Classic over at VA Memorial Stadium.
There's also another reason why baseball is a little tricky, and softball is because, like, in terms of streaming, which is kind of like the only reason I'm in SOSA, like, we only do games at the VA, so it's whoever's playing there. We don't really have
because we're
not really able to, like, just go to any field and just stream. Like, it's a little more tricky. So.
Yeah, we can, you know,
we can provide a center field and a behind the home plate cam where, you know, if we went somewhere else, wouldn't really be possible.
Well, and it being turf, we know more than likely the game's going to get played. And then also part of the kind of part of the spring is I work at the stadium. So I'll be seeing all the games there. But at the same time, that means
that's all you're going to be.
That's all I'll be able to see until we have like get ready for the conference tournaments for the colleges in the early, like, what was that, May?
It was first, man, it was like the first 2.5 weeks of May.
Yeah,
which is also a big dead period for streams at the VA. For
so
reason.
Maybe we can figure out something. Maybe we take a road trip to find a softball place where it's not a chain link fence right behind. But you know, that would say a very long shot. So we'll kind of see. And
well, like we talked kind of like the little radio thing, which is still like not actually a thing, but
yeah, we're trying to figure out different ways to get services to highlight the kids and whatnot. And we have really good sponsors. And, you know, we have really good coworkers, obviously, you know, we've talked about them a lot, and, you know, and that's without even mentioning like Derek and Brock going out and doing a lot. Brock was the MVP of coverage during the tournament so far.
Games,
yeah. So he was kind of all over the place. I think he covered all 3 games, the 2 games we covered on Saturday. And then he went up to Logan and covered that one as well. So, and then obviously Carson Francis too, and then Kenneth Hay, and, you know, make sure you follow all of our people, to get as many updates as you can for the spring. And hopefully we'll get a lot of, pretty pictures out there for baseball. So I can get some, I think Ray's going to do it.
Charge.
Yeah. Raymond's going to, be coming up to the VA doing some games, and I could actually write some stories. Yeah. Which
is some photos.
Derek was like, hey, are you going to actually write some stuff on baseball this year? I said, well, I kind of work every day, and no one comes takes pictures at the VA. And, you know, we like to have pictures with our stuff. And it's like, well, Raymond loves baseball. I'm like, let's go.
That's all we needed.
You get to see Raymond tonight at the VA, or not at the VA, at the Convo, because he's going to be taking pictures for South Webster and Fairfield. Everybody be careful going to the Convo also. It's not the shortest trip for people.
No. All right, well, with that, I think that'll wrap things up for this week's episode, as well as all the episodes here in the winter season of SOSA Overtime, presented by McDonald's.